When merging a pull request on GitHub, you mainly have three options: with a merge commit, squash, or rebase. Is there anything wrong in always doing a merge commit? Well, there isn't a right or wrong here, but depending on your project, squash or rebase can give you some additional benefits, and let me tell you why. Merge commit is probably the most common, and that's because GitHub preselects it for you as the default strategy, and also, if you do a git merge from the terminal, you're actually doing a merge commit. The history of all your commits remains untouched, and on the main branch you see an additional commit that merges all your branch content. Demo time! This is your main branch. You have two commits on top. At some point you decide you want to detach a feature starting from this commit. You add one commit, you add another commit. In the meantime, someone else in your team adds another commit on main. It's now time to do your merge commit. What happens is that you add an extra commit over here, and this is the full history with the merge commit strategy. The biggest advantage is that you can easily track down the exact commit where a line has been modified, as long as there aren't too many commits. The downside is that when multiple commits are on multiple branches, the history quickly becomes really tangled, and following the path of a change can be quite a challenge. But the question is, do you really need to keep track of every single commit in a branch, including typos, formatting, missile files? Well, if the answer is no, then you should consider squash merge. When squashing a merge, the result is that you get rid of all commits on the branch and only add a single commit on main with all the content. As a result, the history is much cleaner, and while working on a branch, you can do all the commits you want, since you know that with the squash, all your sins will be forgotten. Well, kind of. Demo time! Similarly to the previous example, you still have two commits over here and you create a new feature. You add again one commit, you add again another commit, and this is the extra commit from your team. Now, what happens with squash is that you pile up these two commits, you add an extra commit from your feature, and this now becomes your history. Nice and clean, in a straight line, without the extra history of the other branch, and only one commit on top. Who doesn't like squash merge usually brings to the table the fact that you're losing a lot of commit history. But at this point, it's up to you if you think that every single commit is important to reconstruct the history of your branch, or for example, it's enough to have the commits that are just closing the pull request, and everything else is noise, and you might want to cancel the noise with the headphones. With a squash merge. A third way is that you don't really need a commit that indicates a merge took place, but you still want all commit history nice and clean in a straight line. Merge commit has all tangled lines, plus an extra commit. Squash is a straight line, but loses the history, so here comes rebase, which keeps the history and the straight line, and doesn't require an extra commit for the merge. Demo time! What happens with rebase is that once again you have your feature, you have your two commits here, and your team again did one commit over here. Now, you no longer need a merge commit because you're doing rebase. What happens is that you take your two existing commits and you end up with a straight line history like so, with both your commits from the existing branch and without the merge commit you had in the previous examples. If you get a merge conflict during a rebase, it's fairly easy to unintentionally lose parts of your code, and if you need to catch up multiple commits, you might end up resolving a merge conflict for each single commit, rather than just one in the other merge strategies. And after this overview, what do you think? Let me know in the comments and let's start the discussion. In my opinion, squash is actually a good strategy if branches do not stay open for a long time, and also I'm not too much a fan of rebase because it's really easy to mess up heavily your code base. But before deciding which strategy to apply on your project, you should take some considerations. For example, how often do you and your team go back looking at old commits trying to find something? How many members are in the team? Does your CI need the full commit history? Think about it, talk with your team, and only you together can find the best strategy that applies to your project and your specific use case. Actually, a good strategy I can recommend is subscribing to this YouTube channel to not miss any future videos like this one. If you want to enforce only some merge strategies on GitHub, head over the settings of your repository and scroll down a little bit. Here, you will find 3 sections to allow merge commit, squash or rebase in your pull requests. If you keep only one selected, all PRs in your repo will be merged with that specific strategy. For the first 2, you can also define the default commit message that can take information from the PR or from the commits in the branch in case of a squash. As you can see, Rebase doesn't have this option, and the reason is quite simple. As we just seen, rebasing does not create an extra commit for the merge, so there is nothing to do here. The existing commits are simply moved to the head of your branch. Since you're already in this page, if you scroll down a little bit more, you might also want to check this flag to automatically delete branches after a PR is successfully merged. But didn't we forget about something important, like what happens if there's a conflict? Well, here I tell you how you can, with Visual Studio Code, resolve a conflict so that you can finally merge your pull request with your desired strategy. Leave a like here and check it out!